we got to talk about Oilers versus Avalanche.
Let's go. Can't wait.
It seems like this is me just kind of surveying social media, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. It seems like a lot of people.
All the reliable sources.
What's that?
I said all the reliable sources.
Yeah, all the reliable sources. But I like looking at that stuff because it shows kind of like what hockey fans are thinking.
Yeah, the mood.
I'm not going to I'm not talking to like Chris Johnston or any of these other analysts. And again, you could read their work, listen to what they have to say on their platforms. But looking at sort of like the general fan consensus, it seems like a lot of people think that Colorado is just going to dust Edmonton in like 5 games or less.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think that's the case. As hard as I have been on Edmonton this season, like my general thoughts on the series to start things off, Lepore, like I think Edmonton's going to be able to score on this Colorado team. Okay. Like, I don't think Colorado's like this unbelievable, like defensive stalwart. Like Darcy Kemper has struggled in the playoffs. Like compared to Mike Smith has had a much better playoffs than Darcy Kemper. But the issue that I have here with Edmonton, and again, I think they're going to score. I think Draisaitl and McDavid are going to find ways to put up points and generate offense. Same with Kane and even Hyman for that matter. But I'm just thinking like, how on earth are they going to defend this Colorado team consistently? Because this isn't going to be like the Calgary Flames situation where their top line goes cold and their secondary scoring was invisible. Like Colorado, Lepore, I was checking. They have on average outshot their opponents by 13 shots per game in the playoffs.
Yeah, I watched the Blues series pretty attentively. And I love the Blues. Like I love their players. I love their style of play, like their identity. And I was semi-rooting for them. And they put up a good fight. But watching the games, they were never really in it. Yeah. Like you do like that second look, like what? The shots are 24-8 for Colorado, and then they just keep coming at them in
waves.
And people forget Binnington played really well in that series, well in that series. So yeah, I mean, Colorado's a lot, man. Like you talk about teams though, and like it's their year, and it has to be their year. Kadri, I mean, everyone assumes Kadri's gone, and McKinnon, he's gonna double his salary.
Oh my god, he's gonna get next year David money.
Yeah, and no one would question it. And I saw the number. I think they have like 9 or 10 UFAs. So like the team's gonna look different. And I'm not saying it's this year or bust, but
I'm going through their cap sheet right now. Andre Burakovsky, UFA. Cogliano, who they picked up at the deadline, UFA. Kadri, UFA. Valerie Nichushkin, UFA.
That's a big one.
Same with Jack Johnson. I mean, that dude's washed at this point, but Josh Manson, UFA. Arturi Lehkonen is an RFA. And and McKinnon has 1 more year left on his contract after
$6 million, 6.5 million.
Yeah, 6.3 million. That's just unbelievable.
Makes no sense, but okay.
Yeah, so this team is going to be almost in the same spot as Calgary.
Yeah.
Next season. And, they have more cap space, obviously, because McKinnon is still not making an outrageous amount of money. But this is a really good team. And you said it, Lepore, like watching that Blues series, the Blues are a good team. And I think the Blues are actually they're a deep team, too. Like you go down their
fucking
roster,
right. Yeah.
And you look at them, even like offensively, the Blues quietly this year, I believe, were the 3rd highest scoring team in the NHL in goals per game. They had the 2nd best power play behind the Leafs. Their penalty kill also gets really good special teams, really good offensively. And Colorado just completely dictated that entire series. Like even in the games Colorado lost, they're like out shooting St. Louis. They have the puck the whole time. That team is just such a freaking buzzsaw and so difficult to deal with. And I look at Edmonton and it's like, okay, Mike Smith, you've been really good, honestly, for the most part. Like if you go look at goals saved above expected, and even just save percentage, Mike Smith has been really good.
Yeah, he's decent. He's like 3rd or 4th.
He's having a really nice playoffs, but I don't know how he's going to continue that against this Colorado team. And I have no idea how this Edmonton blue line and this Edmonton team defense is going to be able to contain wave after wave of this Colorado attack. Like, I just think it's going to be very difficult. As good as Edmonton's been playing, like, how do you stop this Colorado team?
I think Kemper is the X factor of the series, just for him not to lose the series for Colorado.
Yeah.
because the way I see it is that will Colorado lose to Mike Smith? Like weirder things have happened, but I just can't see it. But what could happen is Kemper just fucking loses it. Because I can't. Edmonton won't beat Colorado. They won't outplay them. They won't outshoot them. They won't have more puck possession. No. Colorado is going to have the greater share of the chances. It's just going to be if Edmonton can be opportunistic and capitalize on the power play and get some saves out of Smith. But I think it's a really tough ask for Edmonton. And you touched on the D. I look at the D. I see Keith, Cece, and Barry, and I see a lot of problems against a Colorado team. It's just they're too much. They're too deep. They're too fast. Too many weapons. And I mean, and too, like the center depth. Kadri and McKinnon, at the end of the day, not that they're McDavid and Draisaitl, but because of them, and I mean the other players on Colorado as well, I'd like to think as much as you could against any team, the Oilers will spend some time in their own end. And specifically McDavid and Draisaitl. It won't be guns a-blazing offensively every time every time they're on the ice. So when we saw that in the Toronto series against Tampa, they were able to keep Matthews and Marner in their own end quite often because they're as deep, if not deeper, than Toronto. So that's where I fear it for Edmonton. But I'm with you. I don't think it's going to be easy. Like Edmonton's got that weird mojo right now, and the crowd will be crazy for games 3 and 4 in Edmonton. So I think we'll see a good series. I really do.
Yeah. I think it's going to be close. And I like that point you brought up about Darcy Kemper, because he has not been sharp in the playoffs, and he hasn't had to be because the team in front of him is just a friggin' buzzsaw, and it doesn't even matter. But if he's going to continue putting up the numbers he's putting up, I believe he has like a 904 save percentage. And even looking at his underlying numbers, his goals saved above expected are in the negative. Like he hasn't been good. So if he's going to have like a Jacob Markstrom type series, then this thing might even go 7 games. If he's
who thought we'd be saying that a Jacob Markstrom series as a bad thing.
Unbelievable, man. Yeah. Like if he's going to allow 24 goals in 5 games, like Jacob Markstrom did in the Battle of Alberta, then you can guarantee this thing is going 6 or 7 games. But yeah, I was even looking at Colorado's like time on ice for the playoffs. Cale Makar and Devin Taves are both playing over 25 minutes a game in the playoffs.
And it's not going to go down against McDavid. And
like they are going to be on the ice for essentially half the game. And you could guarantee that Jared Bednar is going to be putting them out there when McDavid and Draisaitl are on the ice. Yeah. So I'm interested to see how that matchup's going to work out, because when Cale Makar and Devin Taves are on the ice, they have the puck a lot. And when McDavid and Draisaitl are on the ice, those guys have the puck a lot. So that's going to be an interesting battle, almost more interesting in a way than maybe the McKinnon versus McDavid battle, which is incredible in itself, 2 superstar players. But I want to see who ends up controlling most of the play when you have that Makar and Taves pairing on the ice with those 2 monsters. So I'm interested to see how that plays out. But want to give an official prediction for this one, Lepore?
Ooh, that's a hard one. I'll say I will say a hard fought 6 games, Colorado in overtime in game 6, just to break the hearts of Oilers fans everywhere. And I'm saying this very respectfully. I think the Oilers put up a good fight, and unlike the Calgary Flames and unlike our Toronto Maple Leafs, I think a conference final berth and losing to the Colorado Avalanche in hard fought 6 games is a good showing from the Edmonton Oilers. So that's my pick. Game 6 in Edmonton, McKinnon overtime to win the series.
Lepore, just so the people listening and watching know, we do not reveal our predictions to each other before we come on this podcast.
Yeah.
I have the exact same prediction.
Overtime as well?
I have the Avalanche winning in 6, not necessarily in overtime, but I do have the Avalanche winning in 6 on the road in Edmonton. I think it's going to be a hard-fought series. The way that McDavid and Draisaitl are playing right now, putting up unbelievable numbers. It's hard to see that team going down in like 4 or 5 games. Mm-hmm. And Edmonton fans, I'm sure, are yelling at us right now. They're going to point out the way that Edmonton played Colorado in the regular season, because there were some close games. There was a game that Edmonton outshot Colorado. I was checking last night. I think it was, I want to say it was one of the overtime games they played. They outshot them like 50-34.
They kicked their ass one game. I think it was like 6-3 or something,
Yeah.
or 5-3 or something. Yeah.
So, and that just shows like Edmonton, it's like I said, I think they're going to be able to score on this team, but there's going to be issues defensively. So we'll see how Edmonton can handle that. But I have the Avalanche in 6, winning it in Edmonton and moving on to the Stanley Cup final.
Here's a weird one before we move on, Bruno. So the Oilers played the Avalanche. I forget where I saw this. The Oilers played the Avalanche 3 times this year. Draisaitl and McDavid. Take a guess at how many goals they scored in those 3 games.
Like combined?
Combined.
I should have looked at this since I was looking at this stuff last night. But I'll say 4 goals combined.
0. They did not score against Colorado in 3 games.
And they still put up a good fight against Colorado.
Yeah. So you can look at it either way. So what I just said is useless. It's useless all around.
Yeah, that's wow. They didn't score a single goal against Colorado and played them pretty well in the regular season.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't imagine those two not scoring a single goal in this playoff series. Can you imagine that?
I forget what I saw. It was like one of the betting things. They were talking about the previous series, and there was the bet of like McDavid. You could bet on McDavid getting 0 points in the series, which is like blasphemous, but you could bet on him getting 0 points in the series. And what was hilarious was that I forget the number that had the same probability of how many points he would get, like the same bet was something like 30. So they said like it was as probable for him to get like 30 points in 7 games compared to getting 0 points. Like just hilarious, like how much respect they gave him. But I mean, he deserves it.
Yeah, he's been a monster. And again, Edmonton, you always have a chance with the way that McDavid and Draisaitl are playing. That's it. You have a puncher's chance.
Yeah.
Like that's the way I look at it, at least.
Fucking right.